1970 WOCA.
Ocala.
All right, 5 minutes after 9 o'clock, Robin, when we were children, we went to school, and every now and then we would have to get a permission slip signed, remember?
Yes, we did.
And the teacher would always say, get these things signed by your parent or guardian. Remember those days?
That's right, I remember that.
Well, I remember saying, what the heck is a guardian? And I raised my hand. The teacher said, well, you know, all parents aren't guardians, and all guardians aren't parents, so we want you to make sure, if you have a parent, have your parent sign it. If you only have a guardian sign it. And then she explained that, Larry, in your case, your parent is your guardian. And I was like, oh, man, am I confused about this or not? I don't understand. Anyway, guardian is kind of your angel. That's how I understand it. Sherry Hill is an angel. Del Webster, not as cute, but also an angel. And they're both professional guardians. How about that? And Sherry Hill is the president of the Florida chapter of the Florida State Guardianship Association, and that covers a large area. She's going to explain that in just a bit. And Del Webster is a professional guardian. They're both here to talk to us about the Florida State Guardianship Association and guardianship in general. So we'll just say good morning to both of you. Thank you for coming in.
Good morning, Larry.
Good morning.
Oh, you're speaking so softly there, Sherry. Not to mention that Sherry can play piano. She will deny this.
Yeah.
But she plays really well.
Very well.
Are you nervous, Sherry?
A little.
A little nervous? Oh, man. All right, don't be nervous. Now, the other day, we were at the assisted living facility where my mom lives, Del. I won't make you nervous. I'll talk to Del.
Okay.
And we heard this beautiful piano music coming out of the activity room. And then Robin looked in and she said, oh, it's a lady with long brown hair.
Yeah.
And so I said, oh, well, it must be somebody's visiting because there's nobody there with long brown hair that lives there. Yeah. And then Sherry came out, and we knew Sherry. She recognized us, and of course, and coincidentally, you're here today, and we knew this in advance too. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that you bring something to us, whether it's through your music or through your passion. I guess we could say that, right?
We love what we do. As guardians, we love to be in facilities, and I do like to hang out up there where that piano is.
So what without naming names or circumstances, were you there because somebody had a problem? Is that why you were there?
Yes, I was there because I received a phone call that one of the people that I take care of as one of my wards fell, and I was concerned.
Oh, fell. Okay.
She fell,
okay,
and she was walking around when I got there, and she forgot that she even did fall.
Oh,
but
really?
I just wanted to check it out and look and see if she had any scrapes and bruises, or if she had any problems, and she was fine.
So that kind of opens up all the questions. All the questions we have come from that one statement right there. So if I have a loved one, whether old or young, I call the guardianship program, and you guys check it out for me. Am I right about that?
Yes, we have in fact, our chapter, the Heart of Florida chapter of Florida State Guardianship Association, has a guardianship information line. This is probably the best source locally, and that's 352-307-6900. And you call that line, and one of our guardians will answer the phone and try to help you as best you can with any kind of questions you may have about guardianship.
Okay, is the police involved in these things, or does that not happen until you look into them?
No, the police aren't generally involved, unless there's a Baker Act or something like that involved, but generally not.
Okay.
We guardianships are usually created when some interested party, and I say interested party, it could be a family member, it could be a friend, it could be an assisted living facility or a nursing home where the person is a resident, or it could be even the Department of Children and Families, decide or are concerned that a person is not capable of taking care of their own needs any longer, and they can go ahead, and what they do is petition the court to have the person's capacity looked at and determine whether they have capacity. And if it's determined that they don't, then a guardian can be appointed, and the guardian can be a family member, or it could be a professional guardian when there's no family member available to do it.
I see. And as a professional, do you get paid by the person who calls you? Is that how that works?
Well, we get paid out of the assets of the ward. So we're paid at a rate that's decided by the courts.
I got you. Okay.
But we're paid out of the assets of the ward, not necessarily the person that calls.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure how that worked. Yeah. Now, Sherry, if you were to take what you do and put it onto a pie chart, what's the biggest part of the pie? What is the most calls that you get? What is it concerning? Is it older people?
Yes, it is older people. For instance, just one of my cases, my little lady was out on State Road 200 driving her golf cart in the lane where she should be driving a car.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
Oh, my goodness.
And she was lost. And so she definitely, and that was just one of the instances. Her neighbors were very concerned about her. And so there were a lot of things that were happening in her life. She could not handle her finances.
She was declining.
And she had she was sending cash through the mail to people that she mostly psychics. She got a lot of psychic mail.
Oh, my goodness.
Yes.
And you put an end to that, didn't you?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. And did those psychics get in trouble?
Well, it's very hard to trace them.
Wow.
I wrote them letters. Shame on you.
And did
Shame
they
on
wait
you
back?
Letters. No, they did not.
Sherry, I see in your future. I see a radio show in your future.
Got right off their mailing list.
Yeah.
But another case, a gentleman, he took his girlfriend out to eat, and it began to rain. It was late at night, and he obviously was not used to driving at night, according to his neighbors.
No.
And he took her to a restaurant. He left her there just for a short period of time because he knew there was a sheriff's station really nearby the restaurant, and he wanted to go up there to get directions on how to get home because he knew he was lost. But once he got to the station, the sheriff's department realized that he was so confused that they didn't even believe that there was a person waiting for him at the restaurant. But they drove him to the restaurant, and by that time, this poor little lady, she was beside herself. So her family turned this incident into the Department of Children and Family Services.
I got you. Was this an older couple also?
This was an older couple. They weren't married, but he was a retired truck driver, and but he was confused about a lot of things, and he wasn't able to handle his medications. Once he got And then also, he was being exploited by someone that was coming in to clean his home, was also cleaning out his bank account.
Oh, my goodness. So how do you look into these things? I mean, how do you actually... How do you have access to see that there's a bank account discrepancy and things like that?
Well, the DCF, they can get enough evidence, but emergency guardianship was done, and so within a week, he needed a guardian desperately. He also had some health issues that were not being addressed. He was a diabetic, and he had some serious health issues.
So do you call him down? I mean,
actually,
does he slap him around a little bit?
Yeah.
I can't picture you doing this.
Once you get appointed guardian, you have the authority to actually go into the person's house and go through all of their affairs, and it's kind of, it takes a bit in the beginning because you're literally crawling through closets and opening desk drawers and looking through bank accounts until you find out all this stuff about the ward, and then you go to the bank and you change the bank account, you change the mailing address, you change the locks on the doors, and you do all those kinds of things to protect the assets of the ward, as well as find them a place to live too if they need that.
Wow.
So.
And is that a big part of the pie too, finding a place to live?
It can be, particularly Florida's not a nice place to be if you're poor and old. But if you don't have a lot of money, it gets a little more. If you don't have some money, it gets a little more complicated. But if you're reasonably well off, you can usually find a place pretty quickly. There's some wonderful facilities in and around Marion County for folks.
And with that said, I know this from what I just went through with my mom, and also because I worked at an assisted living facility 12 years ago, or whatever it is now. Back then, I remember a man being put out because he ran out of money. There was no program as a safety net for him, and I remember all the nurses crying. The administrator of the building was crying, didn't want to see this guy put out.
Well, fortunately, the Medicaid program protects most of those folks. Most of the facilities will take Medicaid, and when a patient or when a resident runs out of funds, Medicaid can be applied for, and that would cover the person. Some places don't take Medicaid.
Right, because they're private, so they won't take it.
And so, is that part of what you do too? In order to put my mom where she is, I had to call her insurance companies to figure out what she was eligible for, because I had no clue. I mean, I look at these, you look at these documents from an insurance company, you're lost unless you are an insurance person, right? So do you sort of how do you do that? I mean, how do you look at a document that maybe you're not familiar with and understand what indeed it actually says? Do you bring it to a lawyer, or do you have training for that stuff?
We do have training.
That's training.
Exactly what we have. CEUs constantly. We're constantly going through training. As far as the Florida State Guardianship Association, we have extensive training, not online training. We actually go to conferences, and we have monthly meetings, and we have speakers at our meetings that teach us these things. How to read the MARS, how to medical observation record at the hospital, and about medications and about medication management. What medications should seniors stay away from? What should people with Alzheimer's be on? A lot of our people have dementia, Alzheimer's type, and there are medications that they should not be on.
And they are targets, aren't they? I mean, if there's somebody in their family or in their close circle that's unscrupulous, that's a prime target, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah.
And do you have a problem with the people that are, like, say, they're here in the state of Florida, they're on their own, their children are in other states, they don't want their parents there with them to put them in a facility, down the road from them? Do you find that's when guardianship plays the most important role, because the rest, the brothers and the sons and the daughters just don't want anything to do with the parents?
Well, that's a classic example of why a professional guardian is appointed. There could be family members that care but not care enough, or they're living someplace else, and it's clear that the person needs a guardian. The judge has decided that they lack capacity, and then a professional guardian is brought in. But that's classic reason why a professional guardian is needed, when the family just can't do it or doesn't want to do it.
Right, and that's so sad, too, that they don't want their parents in the same city that they live.
Have you ever been called into the courtroom, like after you've worked with a ward for a while, suddenly somebody decides, let's let a court decide this, and they ask you for your notes and all that? Has that happened? Are you allowed to do that?
It hasn't happened to me, but it could happen. Yeah, we could be called in. If the judge decides that he wants to know something, we can be, our notes and the records that we keep can be brought into the courtroom and discussed with the judge. Not with anybody else, but with a judge in an open courtroom. That could happen.
You have a great voice. Wouldn't it be great to have him narrating The Night Before Christmas?
Oh, yeah, I think that'd be great.
Right? Don't you want to hear a story?
Yeah, I do. I'm ready.
It was the night before Christmas.
Yeah, we want to hear a story.
Well,
can I make one point, Larry,
Yes.
that we didn't have a chance to at the beginning? And I want to point out that the guardianship that we're talking about is not the Guardian Ad Litem program, which many people have heard of.
Good point,
Which is a wonderful program. It's a volunteer guardianship program where volunteers are appointed to oversee the care of children. So the Guardian Ad Litem program is really for kids, young people, and the professional guardian program that we're talking about is generally for people over 18. And I just need to make that clear, because the Guardian Ad Litem program is probably better known than the guardianship program, because it gets in the newspaper quite a bit.
And nobody knows what ad litem means, by the way.
I'm not sure that I know either.
It's guardian. We know guardian. Ad litem. Do you know what it means, Sherry? We don't know.
No, don't know for sure.
I think I've asked everybody, what's that last part of that title? I don't know.
Is the Florida Guardianship Program, do you also become a guardian to people that have special needs? They can live on their own, but they're getting government assistance, and they have caseworkers, but maybe the caseworkers aren't up to par. Can they hire you as their guardian to make sure they have enough money in their bank account and food on their table?
Dell has wards with developmental disabilities.
Oh yeah,
I think he can talk more
sure.
about that. I have mostly Alzheimer's.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. There are several there are an awful lot of developmentally disabled people in Florida. They are handled by the Agency for Persons with Disabilities, APD, and they receive benefits, but they're not necessarily they're not incapacitated, but they have limitations, and they need somebody to oversee what goes on with them. That's a different kind of guardianship. It's called a guardian advocacy, where we oversee what the government provides for them in terms of services. We just make sure that they're okay. We don't have the same responsibilities for those folks that we do for our elderly wards, over which we are the plenary guardian, which means guardian of the person and the property.
Sherry, one of the stages of Alzheimer's, since you work with dementia people, one of the stages is anger, and then they eventually get over that. And that anger sometimes manifests itself in harm to somebody else. So somebody you're the guardian over might actually be causing the problem for a period of time. And this is what we understand, and I don't know if it's 100% across the board for people with Alzheimer's, or is it just the men? It seems like it was the men that I heard about. But when your ward becomes the problem, how do you interact with that? I mean, what's your role then?
Well, we have to bring in specialists. We have to bring in social workers and behavioral health specialists, and we have to bring in psychiatrists to help and with medication management. And they have a lot of pent-up anger. They know that they can't do the things they used to do. And a lot of times it's where the Alzheimer's is in the brain. There are many different types of Alzheimer's. I had a case recently of Lewy body dementia, which is this woman. She was 87 when I got her case, and she was going up into the attic to feed people that didn't live there, but she thought that people lived in her attic, and it was in August.
Oh, wow.
And she was on a 20-foot ladder going and taking food, and we found plates up in her attic where she had, and her neighbors knew about this, and she was turning off all of her breakers because she said that she was afraid, and that they were walking around her house at night. They were coming into her room, and she's just very, very bizarre.
Oh, wow.
These she actually would see people that weren't there. But this was managed. We got professional help for her. She's in a wonderful facility. She was not able to live alone or care for herself.
Right.
She had her electricity turned off many times for not paying her bill.
Did that phase pass? Did she?
It did. It actually, we were able to manage this with medication. The treatment was really pretty simple to manage it. She didn't have any anger outbursts or any problem like that. I have been punched recently.
Oh my.
Yeah, you don't see it coming, but the anger, it's part of the disease. It's not them. They're not themselves.
You got punched recently?
Mm-hmm.
In the
yes,
face?
I did.
In the face?
Yes.
Oh no.
A left hook, as a matter of fact.
Since we saw you on the...
no, it was about a month ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
okay.
It's been almost a month now. Yeah.
And that was one of the wonderful things about seeing you there at the facility, is that it was a Sunday afternoon. I mean, you guys are just not 9 to 5 Monday through Friday with an hour for lunch.
Yeah.
You're 24/7, no matter what it is.
All right,
The phone can certainly ring any time, and it does.
And it is. So let's take a couple of calls from listeners. Sherry Hill and Dale Webster are here. They're talking about the Guardianship program, the Florida State Guardianship Association, and we're going to teach or learn how to become a guardian and how to request the help of the guardians. And let's go to the phone now. Good morning. Thank you for being patient with us. You're on the air with Sherry Hill and Dale Webster.
Listen, I'd like to get a little information off you on this guardianship. Say the child, a teenager, and she doesn't get along with the daddy. They're fussing, and she leaves and goes to the Arnett house. And the Arnett house calls up the nearest relative, which would be her grandmother. And then they go to work, and then we have to go through the guardianship to get the guardian of the child because she can't get along with the grandfather. So that the they have to raise that child through the teenagers until she becomes an adult. What I'm trying to find out is what responsibility do you have to do with the young people that run from home, go to the Arnett House or government complexes, and then go to work and has to go through a guardianship. Now I'll hang up and listen to you on the phone. Telephone.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Yeah, we get back to the comment I made earlier about the difference between professional guardians and the guardian ad litem program. For children under 18, professional guardians do not usually get involved. So that would be an issue that would be handled by the Department of Children and Families, the courts, and the guardian ad litem program.
Are both organizations, yours and the ad litem one, are they state organizations?
The guardian ad litem program is probably across the state, but it's a local program here, administered locally. Yes.
So he would need to call them.
Yes,
the guardian ad litem.
It's in the phone book. I don't have the phone number for it, but if you look up, in fact, I know I've seen it, guardian ad litem. Call them up and ask them for the same kind of question, and they may be able to help you.
Nice.
The notes that you gave me indicate that this month, October, is Guardianship Month. What does that mean?
Oh, indeed, it is, and that's one of the reasons why we come chat with you every year during October. October's probably many different kinds of months, but this is the month that the governor actually proclaims as Guardianship Month in Florida. So we try as a group of guardians to kind of make something special of it, and not only the proclamation that we get, which is very interesting, we get a chance to talk with you folks on the radio, which is great. I'll let Sherry talk about our Senior Expo, which we had very successfully a couple weeks ago.
Okay.
Yes, we have an annual Senior Expo. We have 31 vendors this year, and all types of vendors come and they assist us. And we have, I know Dale uses many different organizations that support us in guardianship. And I've got to mention, we have a brand new one, Comfort Keepers, is here, and I feel so terrible. They supported us so greatly in our expo, and I left their name off the list, and I apologize for that. We do a lot of advertising for them as well, and for Visiting Angels and Home Instead. These folks really help us through dark times. Whenever we see someone that is having problems, we always have the least restrictive. We want someone to stay home if at all possible. When we're getting to know our wards, we do hire agencies to come in and help us. It's the least restrictive, and they're licensed and bonded, and so all these agencies, we had Better at Home Health Care, we had Concordia Senior Living, all of the people that support us in guardianship, skilled nursing facilities, they were all there. Doctors even came, medical associates that we work with and that do geriatric care management, and I think that it's not just us. It's not just the guardian. We have a team of people that we need desperately to help us.
Oh man, teamwork is that's the name of the game, isn't it?
It is.
Because you don't know everything. I mean, in anything we do. Let's see if we can squeeze in another phone call. Good morning. Thank you for calling. You're on the air.
I'm Kathy. I'm a retired adult protective investigator from DCF, and I could never have done what I did without the guardianship program. You guys are wonderful. And it's such a beautiful community effort, too, with the law enforcement. They'll do a Baker Act when needed, to start the ball rolling. And, of course, a lot of the guardianship started when we got a call from the hotline, and we investigated the person, and then the guardians, got involved from there.
Okay.
So thank you.
Obviously working with other agencies. All right, thank you, Kathy. Appreciate that. Good morning. You're on the air. Well, I guess we're not on there. All right, so if there's somebody listening, let's start with the people who want to be a guardian. What do you look for in a guardian? And do you need anybody right now? It's a paid position, right?
It is a paid position.
Sometimes, okay.
It's not always a paid position.
Oh, it's not always. Okay.
Exactly. The cases, when you take a case, you never know if it doesn't matter if a good guardian will take a case because the person's in need, and they need someone, and that they're in dire need. And Dale, I'll let you take it.
We need to give a shout out to the Public Guardianship Office.
Absolutely.
There is a local Public Guardianship Office here in Ocala, which covers Marion County, and handles cases of those folks that really don't have money at all. Generally, we professional guardians get paid, although we do take on pro bono cases. But the State Public Guardianship Office, located here in Marion County, is terrific. They've got a very, very large caseload with very, very few people and very limited funding, and they do an excellent job of helping folks that don't have money. They're listed in the phone book, too, by the way. And I should mention that we have a guardianship hotline. I mentioned it before. That's also in the phone book for people to call and ask questions, and we'll help them get help however they need it.
And that's 307 number?
307-6900.
And I hope we covered everything you want to cover. If not, let's make sure we mention it right now. But I think just as important, maybe more important, is the information, the access to information, websites, and that phone number you gave us, etc. So let me start with the web. Is there a website?
Yes, there's one that's very easy to get to, and it's the Florida State Guardianship Association website. That's FloridaGuardians.com. That's easy. The statewide Public Guardianship Office, which we have not mentioned, which is very important in guardianship because it monitors and registers all professional guardians across the state. You can get to them through the Department of Elder Affairs website. You start with My Florida and crawl through the tree, and you can get to that as well.
And actually, we have it here, so I'll keep the information you gave us.
Sure.
So that if the listeners want to call and get that long website, I'll be glad to read it over the phone. It would be kind of awkward to do it on the air right now.
But that local number is the easiest one to call because we can get you almost anywhere.
Now, I'm going to squeeze one last question, because if you get a call from one person that and there's an issue, you might be getting one side. You might be getting somebody who wants you to believe the way they believe. You know, how do you avoid that? How do you avoid being biased? How do you avoid absorbing somebody else's bias? Like if somebody calls me and says, "Larry, I think my neighbor is being harassed by my other neighbor," and I'll say, "Really?" And then they go on and on and on. I go, "Okay, I'll come over and talk to them." All of a sudden, I've got it in my mind who the bad guy is, you know. And maybe it's wrong.
Probably better to turn those kinds of issues over to the elder abuse hotline. There is an elder abuse hotline. If you feel that a neighbor, a friend is being exploited, ignored, abused, that hotline is the best thing to call. And we have the number here. You have it?
Yes, that number is 800-262-2243.
And what happens then is there will be, within a 24-hour period, there'll be an investigator sent out by the Department of Children and Families to investigate that particular issue. They get in and listen to both sides and handle the situation, and then you don't get yourself in the middle of it.
Okay. Well, thank you for what you do for our community. That's the biggest thank you. Thank you also for coming in. We owe you thanks for educating us a little bit. Sherry Hill and Del Webster, come back anytime, and happy Guardianship Month.
Thank you,
Larry. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Is there a cake in there somewhere?
I wish there was.
No cake?
No cake.
Okay.
Well, maybe we can do something about that. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Right.
We will take a little break, and we will be right back. John Berglund is up next. He's going to talk to us about his life, a beach less traveled, from corporate chaos to flip-flop perfumer. His fun-filled factual tale of conflicts, contrast, and celebration. We'll be right back with that.
Digital Graphics Reborn. Phoenix Graphics. When you need vehicle graphics, banners, T-shirts, window graphics, you need to call Phoenix Graphics at 368-2404. When you need building signs, vehicle wraps, yard signs,